citizens, so I want to certainly recognize both of you tonight. So Sean Smith, who's a county legislator, is going to speak in a moment, but I certainly want to recognize you as elected official. And then Aaron McMullen, you are a state representative, and I want to recognize you for being here as elected. And you've got 5 minutes. And please state your address too, please.
Greetings, my name is Aaron McMullen. I live at 1804 South Sioux Court. Greetings, Mayor and Independent City Council. My name is Aaron McMullen. I represent roughly about 28,000 people in the city of Independence, Missouri, in the State House of Representatives. Moreover, I'm a citizen of Independence and care for my community greatly. In my capacity as a representative, I've received dozens of emails and phone calls from constituents beside themselves due to recent property tax increases. The property tax increase hurts the most vulnerable parts of our population, the disabled, the retired, and the poor. Property owners are not the only people to suffer from these increases, as people who live with leases will already have and already will have their rental rates increased I have the unique perspective of working on the Special Committee on Tax Reform and have voted to pass every property tax decrease, including Senate Bill 190. We need to act and put as much pressure on Jackson County to enact Senate Bill 190 and also uncover any malpractice concerning the new property tax increases on behalf of the citizens of Independence. I can speak without a doubt in my mind that people of Independence want us to exercise all possible remedies on their behalf to provide relief for these burdensome tax increases. Challenging taxes such as these is ingrained in American culture, starting with the Boston Tea Party to the revolutionary cry of no taxation without representation. Therefore, I support the most honorable gentleman from the 3rd District's resolution 23764 and 23765. And
everything about me is public these days, including the value of my property, thanks to the Kansas City Star.
There you go.
So my name is Sean Smith. I live at 1516 Southwest Hedgewood Lane in Lee Summit, Missouri. I come here today as but an elected representative on the Jackson County Legislature. And I certainly want to speak in favor of 23764 and 23765. In my position as a Jackson County legislator, by the way, the only notes I needed was for the numbers of the resolutions. In my position as a Jackson County legislator, I have, of course, been contacted by, I will say, thousands of concerned citizens who received their reassessment notices with indications of massive increases. I've spent the last several weeks learning more about how computer-assisted modeling to do mass appraisals works than I ever would have thought necessary in an elected role. I come to that ability to understand that based on my professional career of 25 years in technology, information systems, and really having a deep understanding of similar tools, albeit for different purposes. I can say that in going through things in detail, that with over 100,000 properties, residential properties, out of the 300,000 presented to us by statute, by the assessor, that increased by more than 50, with a 50%, that the increase, the number of properties that were increased and the associated increases are massive and overwhelming. The question of the mathematics of how those values were derived is very, very different than probably most people would understand, and probably well beyond my ability to discuss in this brief period. But I will say it represents a problem. It represents a solution, in a way, to decades of neglect on the part of the county, where our assessed values required under state law were probably not correct. So the math, the one thing I will say about it, and then I will move off of the math, tries to derive what the value of property is based on various attributes, and success, according to the vendor, is 15% of property owners appealing. Right now, we're at 38,000 appeals. that have been requested by citizens, and that represents about 12%. For me, 12%, with some of those ranging all the way up to 400, 500, 600%, doesn't feel like or look like success. Therefore, I certainly have been supportive at the county level of any remedy we can find that's lawful. I will go so far as to say if the courts need to intervene, which is to be determined, those solutions probably won't be very attractive either. But the reality is that even if the math was perfect, we also have a solution to remedy things, which is the appeal process, which has also been imperfect. Many citizens have reported, and I've personally witnessed calling to get help and being on hold for hours. That's if the phone call goes through, and then after hours on hold, being told you're next, your call will be answered next, and then being disconnected. This was even done live by the media, and they had the same result. So there's no question that the solution for those owners who have been inaccurately assessed on the upside is very much
You've got 1 minute.
been a problem, right? So both with the math and with the solution to the bad math, which is supposed to be the appeal process, both have had a significant problem. We did pass a resolution as a county legislative group asking the county executive to step in and place a cap on the increases while the accuracy of those things continues to be determined. That would have benefits for both taxing entities like yourself in terms of your ability to forecast what your revenue is going to be and set your levy rate properly, and to the citizens who are currently panicked and thinking that they may very well be looking at losing their homes because they can't afford their property taxes. So I will encourage you to take all actions, and as I said, I support the resolutions that have been presented to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. And that brings us to the regular agenda. There are no public hearings today, so we've got non-ordinance items. And Madam City Clerk, you can proceed with reading the very first non-ordinance item, 23764.
A resolution directing the city manager to consult with the city councilor to explore joining the class action lawsuit filed against Jackson County et al. Related to 2023 property tax assessment.
Very good. Any discussion on this item? Madam?
So I've already embarrassed myself once, so I'll step into it again. I just have concerns about whether we have standing to be able to join a lawsuit against another branch of government. And I'm sure that this resolution, which is to consult with the city councilor, that will be one of the aspects that you take into consideration if this motion passes, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor.
Please proceed.
This resolution is a result of many phone calls that we received, and they kind of started like this. I know there's nothing you can do because you weren't involved in this process, but people were frustrated. They were somewhat nervous. They had heard the stories, and they felt like they weren't getting anywhere. They were making phone calls. They weren't getting responses. And while we're just this municipality in this county, we're still elected representatives of people who are feeling like they are, well, their very asset. The most important thing to them is being threatened. And there are times where we as elected officials have to remind ourselves that government is not entitled to your assets. You really are not. And taxing jurisdiction to taxing authorities in certain jurisdictions are given by the people. And that means there's a sense of responsibility that goes with that. And I sat long and hard and thought about this, but what I wanted to do was give us the opportunity to stand with the residents that we represent. Yeah, whether we had anything to do with it or not, we are still elected officials and we still represent, for me, the 3rd District. But I love this entire city. And I have learned a great deal about this process. And I want to tell you, I am as disappointed in this process as I've ever been. Not surprised, but disappointed. And, you know, I have now had the opportunity, the privilege to talk to a few of the legislators, a few state representatives. And the thing that troubles me is that no one seems to have any type of solution. And when I would ask questions like, well, what are you going to do to help fix this? Then the question was always brought back to me. Well, what do you suggest? Well, I have a lot of suggestions. The problem is I don't have the ability to make those suggestions and to see any action taken upon them. The thing that I do know is that when we hear about this process, what I've heard is that it's, you know, there may be a ripple effect in our economy. I'm going to tell you something, it's not a ripple. It's going to be a monsoon. The fact is that when you get into the inequitable assessments that we're seeing, when you see the things that are happening to elderly people who are on very fixed incomes, and they're wondering where they're going to come up with 20, 30, 40% more. What do they give up? I've received those phone calls. So that's why I'm saying that to you. I've received the phone calls from the kids that said, you know, my mom is on $1,100 fixed income. What does she give up? She's not getting a raise. She give up her prescriptions, she give up utilities, which are now 6% higher. Does she give up food? If without her son, she's going to be homeless. That's what will happen, is there will be a lot of that going on. And if you think that it's only happening to homeowners and renters, you're escaping it, well, guess what? We have a friend who has 48 rental units, and across the board is a 90% increase in his assessments, 9%. So you calculate that with his insurance. Rents are probably going to go up 30 to 40%. But think about that. That's going to create such economic hardships. And there'll be inequities. And so don't for one second think that this is not a big deal and it'll work itself out. This is a big deal. And it's time for us to make a stand. And that's why I brought this resolution forward. I don't know what our city can do, but by golly, I trust our city councilor that he's going to look into it. And if there are aspects of this assessment that were not done properly or even illegally, then the county should be held accountable for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's my charge of what I'd like for Mr. Cobra to look into. And I know that we're just looking for the same treatment. We want to be treated right. We want our assets to be protected. And one day, you know what? We may even get to own something and not have to rent it back from the county. That's my hope. So I hope that this is something that you understand. I'm not saying go jump into a lawsuit. Let's look at this process and let's figure out if something's wrong. Let's make sure we find out what it was and that it doesn't happen again. Then let's work with our state reps that took the time to come out tonight, and let's try to figure out some solutions for this. So I hope that my colleagues will vote for this and stand with the people of this city.
All right. I understand this issue is a big issue. I understand you're angry. I understand your emotions. We are not going to disrespect the process of a body having a meeting. Now, I don't want to do this, but if it happens again, we will remove people that I have seen that have clapped.
Mr.
Okay?
Mayor, point of
Please.
order.
Please.
I'm sorry.
You think I've gone too far?
With all due respect,
Okay, I will withdraw my statement and we'll move on. Thank you, sir. Good point.
Mr. Mayor,
Please, thank you, sir. Please proceed.
I've had similar phone calls and conversations, and I'm personally affected by the assessment issue as well. I have a different question for Mr. Cobra, if I could.
Please proceed.
My question is really, my understanding is we're just exploring this as an option, and I'm assuming, and so am I correct that if you determined that it was an option, because I have similar concerns as to our standing, as Councilmember McKeon has stated, if you did find out that there was an opportunity to do that in your research, would you come back to us in an executive session? Is that how that we would treat that?
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Please proceed.
thank you. I, like the rest of my colleagues, have had the phone calls, not a lot of emails on my side, but working in the district over the past good 3 to 4 weeks, I've heard a lot of the different stories and increases and what am I going to do and holy cow, how can they do that? I mean, we've heard it all. Just to put this into context for the district that I represent, the zip code 64053, their average income is $33,490. The average house is $88,000. That is the extreme northwest side of Independence, Carlisle neighborhood, Mount Washington neighborhood, Fairmont. I have absolutely concluded this county has acted absolutely recklessly, savagely against the citizens of Independence. And there is absolutely no reason that the constituents of this city, of my district, should be trying to figure out how am I going to pay the extra $2,500, $3,000 extra to pay property tax for something that is so disorganized and it's just not appropriate. So I am going to vote in favor for this. I'm strongly encouraging the rest of my colleagues to do the same, that we can put our voice as strongly as we can to our county legislators and to our state representatives to try to get this resolved and get it to where it needs to be. Our citizens deserve it, our city deserves it, and I'm just beside myself that we even have to deal with this. But here we are.
Thank you, Councilmember. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, just one more thing.
Sure. Please proceed.
You know, the actions that the county has taken was communicated in the media. What our stance is unprecedented. So in terms of standing, it is an unprecedented move for a municipality in the county to look to have some type of legal reconciliation or comfort. I get that. I'm not saying that there is standing. I don't know that though, and none of us do. And until we ask the questions, I think we owe it to these people to make that unknown an educational piece. There may be things that we may be able to push back on. Mr. Kohler and I hope that you understand that what I'm asking you, I know is large, and that word unprecedented has been used, but know that we trust you to go and look at this and stand and do the right thing for our people. So I want you to know I have faith that you'll do that.
Anyone else? Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Please proceed.
You know, as a lawyer, there's a real tendency, especially having done plaintiff's work, when somebody comes into your office and you evaluate a case, that somebody wants to sue somebody. If my council member walked in and said, I want to sue the county, I would say, well, first thing you got to do is take a look at, do you have the right to sue that person or organization or whatever it may be. And there are times not look like you have the right, or it may not feel like you have the right. And there are times when everything may point to the idea that you don't, and sometimes you file a suit anyway. And I don't and would not say whether I have a legal opinion on this issue sitting here tonight, because there are issues that are important enough that you take the stand anyway. And my colleagues have said it better than I will right now, that the point should be made and needs to be made. Mr. Perkins and I share demographics as well as any two districts do. And $2,000 or $3,000 literally are our folks' utility bills, they're their food bills, they're their insurance, or their gas for their car to go to work. And the statement in itself of this resolution, I will thank Councilmember Steinmeier for, and will be voting in favor of. So regardless of where we fall out on this, I certainly will be asking at the end of the day, whatever the opinion is, that we make the legal opinion public if my council members agree, and take whatever next steps we need to as we can to continue to stand up for all of us. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I just want to say I concur with my colleagues. I think this will be unanimous, but with no further discussion, we'll proceed. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Mears,
Yes?
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
McCandless. Yes. Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes. 23-764 passes 7-0. That brings us to 23-765. Madam City Clerk, please read the bill.
A resolution imploring the Jackson County Executive to maintain assessed valuations for real property in Jackson County at their 2022 levels for calendar year 2023.
Thank you very much. Any discussion on this item? Mr. Proceed.
I want to make a motion to amend one of the whereases.
Okay.
One of the whereases mentions that the last day to do the appeals is July the 10th. I just want to make a motion to amend that to July the 31st, since that is now changed.
Okay. And it has so your motion is to amend it, that the appeal process will be up until July 31st, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Yes, the county's since moved that to July 31st, and this resolution states it was July the 10th.
Okay, we have a motion for an amendment. Is there a second to have this motion, this amendment proceed?
Second.
There is a motion and a second on this amendment. Is there any discussion on this amendment to recognize July 31st being the deadline for appeals of the county assessment process?
There will be another amendment, Mr. Mayor, so I think it'd be smoothest if we could vote on this one fairly quickly.
Okay, I just wanted to give everybody a chance to talk if they needed to. Of course. I agree with you. If there's no further discussion, I will honor your request, Councilmember, and call the roll on this. Is there no further discussion? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll on the amendment.
Mears,
Yes?
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
McCandless.
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes, and the amendment as read, moving the date to July 31st is approved 7-0. Anyone else, any other amendments or discussion on this bill?
Mr. Mayor?
Please proceed.
I'd like to propose an amendment adding section 2. If the Jackson County Executive does not believe section 1 is allowed under the authority of their office, the Independent City Council requests the Jackson County Executive act within the responsibilities outlined in the Jackson County Charter to correct any errors in the calculation of assessed values of real property for the 2023 assessment period.
I'll second that.
So we've got a motion and a second for section 2 to be amended, basically saying that the county executive and his staff correct the errors, if I'm hearing it basically correctly, okay? Could I steal a copy of the amendment? That would be grateful. I think it's here, I might have missed it. It is here, please forgive me.
It's on the backside.
Yep, I didn't look at it, thank you. Any further discussion on the amendment on section 2? No further discussion? Going once, going twice, 3 times? All right, with that being said, we'll vote on the amendment on section 2 as proposed. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll on the amendment.
Spears.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
McCandless. Yes. Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes. And the amendment in section 2 passes 7-0. This brings us back to the entire bill, unless there are any other amendments. And is there any discussion on the entire bill?
Mr. Mayor,
Please proceed.
so I've, just like everybody else, I've heard from a bunch of different constituents. Some are concerned they're going to lose their houses. I heard from someone that, she has a reverse mortgage, and basically if she can't pay her property taxes, she'll either have to come up with the entire, amount of money she owes in the house, or basically they'll take it. I'm asking this because of what I believe is inconsistencies in this assessment process. Personally, my house went up 93%. I went to a BOE, the hearing officer. That didn't go well, and now I'm appealing it to the full board of equalization. I just, a lot of people don't have time to take on board to do this. It's just kind of this. So basically, what I'm asking is that the county basically just throw this out and go back to 2022. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? No further discussion. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Spears.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
McCandless. Yes. Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes. And 23-765 passes 7-0. And that brings us to